This snake carries the albino gene. And to be honest, a couple other ones as well. But we're going to focus on albino. And so does this one. And so does this one. And so does this one. So what's going on here? So that was a lot of snakes, and all of them were carrying the albino gene, but they all looked really, really different. I'm Jay. This is Jay's Cryptic Creatures. Let's learn a little bit more about boa genetics together. So in a previous video, the link will be in the description, we talked about just basic boa genetics, kind of 101, if you will. That'll be really good foundational information for this video, where we're going to focus on the albino gene. So again, go back, watch the old video where we discussed dominant, incomplete dominant, recessive, etc. And we talked about in that video the albino gene being recessive. So the recessive complex means that you need two of the same gene for it to be expressed visually. So you need two copies of albino to make it a visual albino. And then if you only have one copy of albino, then we call that snake heterozygous for albino, or het albino. So there's two main types of albinism, abbreviated T negative and T positive. The T standing for tyrosinase, and that is the deep genetic that affects the amount of melanin production. So T negative snakes produce little to no melanin, and T positives produce very little bit, so not completely free of melanin, although severely reduced when you compare it to the wild type. So to make things even more complicated, there are different strains of T negative and T positive albino. So by far the most common, you'll find Call and Sharp strains of T negative. So the Call strain is named after Peter Call, who bred a T negative albino in the early 90s, hence why it's called the Call albino. The other most popular one, I would say, would be Sharp, for Brian Sharp, who also originated that strain in the 90s. Another kind of more popular, more modern form of albinism is known as the VPI albino. So VPL albinos are T positive. So like we were talking about before, reduced melanin, not no melanin. So what you end up seeing, and I got this from Morph Market, is a paler background with some faint black, but very much lighter compared to the wild type. Additionally, there are other forms of albinism that are currently being worked with. So, again, things are just continuing to proliferate. So Medusa here is visual albino. She's also hypo and jungle. Jungle doesn't do much in this context, as jungle manipulates more of the pattern than anything else. Hypo does a little bit different to the colorization, but we want to focus on the albino. So Medusa has two copies of the albino gene, which reduces the melanin, leaving kind of this yellow coloration. And the hypo is actually bringing out the pinks. So that is a visual representation of albino. All right, so if we breed a visual albino to a het albino, again, going back to the Punnett squares, we will get a mix of visual and het albino boas. Makes sense. However, if we were to pair these two, I actually wouldn't get a visual albino. And the reason behind that is these are two different strains of albinism. Medusa here is call albino, and hectate here is het for sharp albino. So you have a line of call and a line of sharp, and you will not produce a visual albino. All right, so what did we learn? So they call albinism or albino a simple recessive, but we worked through some things today that shows that not even simple things can be all that simple. We learned that there are T positive and T negative boas, so you can figure out, how much melanin actually fits your eye or your desired project. We also learned that even in a given strain of, whether it be T positive or T negative, there are variants that may not be compatible, like call and sharp albino. If you aren't planning to breed and you're just looking for a pet, well, maybe it doesn't matter too much to you. You can just get a snake that looks good to you or what you are partial to. If you plan on breeding, you got to make sure you do your research, because what you don't want to happen is they get a male of one form and a female another and then not be able to produce albinos like you thought you were going to. Or even the third, if you're a hobbyist, but later on down the line you end up wanting to breed, make sure that you bought your snake from a breeder that has been around for a while and you're able to contact. Because maybe when you first made the purchase, you weren't overly concerned if it was a call or a sharp. And a couple years down the line, maybe as you're looking for its mate, you need to know. So again, as with most things, don't jump. Do a little bit of research, both on the animal, the breeder, and make sure you're able to make an informed decision on what you're trying to purchase. With that being said, I feel like we learned a little bit more today, and I look forward to our future content. Please like, subscribe, and let's continue to learn about cryptic creatures such as boas together. I'm Jay. Have a good day.